starting in the flower capital, Nami. Tamar and Zeus are enjoying the party and food. Outside the city, Momo is defeated by Ryokugyu, and Yamato wants to go help her, but Momo insists that she shouldn't interfere in the fight. Raizo uses his technique Ninpo Maki Maki no Jutsu and shoots a fire jutsu at Ryokugyu. Ryokugyu acted as if he was affected by Raizo's attack, but he was just joking. Then he used his technique and broke free from the fire. Ryokugyu said, "You really think you're going to defeat a marine admiral by relying on crappy strength like that? Weak." Then, Ryokugyu pierced Raizo's body with one of his roots and started sucking Raizo's nutrients. Kawamatsu tries to help him, but the roots he cut grew continually. And finally, Ryokugyu also caught Denjiro, Kawamatsu and the Komamushi. To the secret room of Kozuki Sukiyaki, we see that there's a secret passage that leads to a long, open staircase in the ground. Sukiyaki, Robin, was walking down the stairs with Lau. Robin asked Lau, did he manage to follow him with his scent? Lau says he's not a hyena. Lau couldn't find Robin with his crew at the party, so he looked for it. Sukiyaki said he never told Kaido and Orochi about this hallway, but because one of Jack's Savage Pirate members is a fishman, it didn't take long for them to find the poneglyph. Robin asked, why did the Gyujin find him? Sukiyaki tells him that it is better for them to look for it themselves. Sukiyaki starts to tell Wano's story, but Robin interrupts him when he saw the light of the hole in the hallway. Robin asks what is that? Sukiyaki tells him that he can go to see what is there, because there is glass blocking the water, and they are now deep in the seabed. Robin crawls through the hole. Lau teleported with him. They both looked through the glass and saw the ruins of an ancient city under the sea. Sukiyaki tells them that these ruins are another land of Wano, which existed about 800 years ago. That water is not sea water. The ruins are preserved in good condition. Sukiyaki explains what happened to Wano country in the past. In the past, Wano was a large country about 3 times larger than Wano now. It is located at the bottom of Mount Fuji, at the same level as the sea. Then, at one point in its history, a huge wall surrounding the island was built, and the country is on lockdown. Rainwater began to accumulate and flood the entire country. After that, the rainwater reaches the highest part of the wall, and the water begins to fall, creating a large waterfall that Luffy or the Big Mom pirates must climb. The people decided to leave the original Wano and build a new country around the slopes of Mount Fuji, which is the current country of Wano. They reach the bottom of the stairs, and Sukiyaki opens a secret door that gives access to a large room, where the road poneglyph is located. Robin says that if they can find one more, they will be able to travel to Laugh Tale. Sukiyaki says that this room is on the highest floor in the cave, at the base of Mount Fuji, and far below there's Pluto's ancient weapon. But Sukiyaki has never seen the weapon, so he can't show Robin and Lau where it is. Sukiyaki says to get the Pluton out, the Wano wall must be destroyed. In other words, opening the borders is breaking down this country's defensive walls, and that means releasing ancient weapons into the world. Robin wonders why Kozuki Oden would want to do something like that. Sukiyaki says he told them everything that has been passed down by the Shogun Sukiyaki family. I don't know what Oden discovered on his journey at sea. Back out of the flower capital, Ryokugyu traps Yamato and tells them that they can't do anything. Ryokugyu said that if Kaido was still leading this country, he would not have come. It was Kaido's leadership that made the enemies stay away from Wano. Ryokugyu says to bring the Mugiwara to him. When he has taken his head, he will leave Wano country. Yamato tells Momo that they have to ask Luffy and the others for help because they can't lose against a guy like this. Momo cries, saying that she doesn't need Luffy or Yamato help. So he asked Yamato not to offer his help anymore. Momonosuke said, "You have been locked up in Onigashima your whole life, but now you are free. And that's why I want you to go. Luffy, Zoro, and the others, I can't always rely on their help. We must be able to defend ourselves from all enemies. With the people of this country, we cannot entrust it to those who are leaving. If we do, how can we protect our country in the future?" Ryokugyu mocks Momonosuke's childish attitude and says that he never thought a dragon could be so embarrassing. In a moment of desperation, Momo managed to shoot Bolo Breath, which hit the body of the Ryokugyu tree. Kawamatsu and Yamato free themselves. Ryokugyu stared at Momonosuke. He couldn't believe what was happening. Yamato doesn't believe that Momo has mastered the power of dragons. Denjiro said that Momo didn't aim well. Momo shoots another Bolo Breath at Ryokugyu and burns his body. However, a small plant grew behind Ryokugyu burnt body, and Ryokugyu grew again. Then he changed again to continue fighting. Ryokugyu then hurts and says, "If that's what you want, fine. Even if you're just a clone of Kaido, I'll stab you from head to tail." Suddenly, black lightning was seen in the distance. Ryokugyu felt that something paralyzed him, and he was screaming in pain. Ryokugyu said, "Hey Shokuhaki, who are you? Is it the Akagami pirates? And they are this close." The Akagami pirate ship is still in the sea near Wano. Some of their members ask Shanks to stop or all the rookies will faint. Shanks said, "I wouldn't say it was a heinous thing, but I'm targeting a new leaf. That just changed pirate history. I thought it was an act of cowardice." And Shanks also remembered some of his memories with Luffy. When Luffy cut under his eye, Momonosuke when he was little with Oden, Hiri when he was born. Then Shanks was very angry and said, "Are you so afraid of the new era that is coming?" Ryokugyu returns to his normal form and says he has no intention of fighting Shanks and his crew for now, and finally decides to leave. Yamato celebrates with Momonosuke and Akazaya 9. Momo cries happily. In the flower capital, we see Brooke, Usopp, Chopper and Frankie still at the party with Hiri and Toko. On the other hand, we see Luffy sitting with Zoro, Senji and Jinbe. It turns out that Luffy and the others saw the fight and were amazed by Momonosuke and wondering who owns this haki. At the end of the chapter, Luffy smiled and remembered a familiar face appearing in his mind. Continuation of One Piece episode 1082. The scene opens with Shinobu and Reizu, whose bodies are dry and brittle due to an attack from Ryokugyu. Even though their bodies were worrying, the two Kozuki clan guards were still alive and is undergoing treatment from a team of mink tribal doctors. In between, Kinemon apologized to his colleagues for not fighting against Ryokugyu and is instead busy making out with Otsuru in the quarry. And none of the Akazaya 9 members have a problem with that, because Momo succeeded in controlling the situation and repelling Ryokugyu. On the other hand, Nekomamushi and Inuarashi suddenly summoned Carrot and unexpectedly asked him to become king of Makamo country. Carrot was initially unaware of what Inuarashi and Nekomamushi said, so he was shocked because he felt he was not worthy of the title of king. However, the decision was unanimous because Nekomamushi and Inuarashi decided to stay in Wano and considers that it is time for the mink tribe to be led by the younger generation. Then continued with a reunion between Momo, Hiri and Kozuki Sukiyaki, the three of them met in a room at the castle. Momo and Hiri couldn't control their tears after finding out that there were still family members still alive. On the other, it turned out that several members were already suspicious of Sukiyaki's real identity, even though he had disguised himself and had the name Tangayama Haitetsu. On the other, and this time highlighting the reaction of the Straw Hat Pirates regarding the Pluton in Wano, Frankie was the most surprised when Robin told him about the Pluton. In this art, Frankie has burned a blueprint of the Pluton, asked if Luffy might want a Pluton, and Luffy confirmed he didn't want that. But Robin was still curious regarding Kozuki Oden's reasons for wanting to open the Wano border, which will simultaneously release Pluton into the world. In the middle of a conversation about Pluton, Otamar suddenly appears with Shinobu, whose body suddenly turns thin and looks beautiful like in the past. The changes in Shinobu's body seem to be related to the events of the fight against Ryokugyu, where his body juices were sucked by the Admiral. But Luffy instead focuses on Tama, who is like a female ninja. Tama then confirmed that he would train to become a great ninja, so that he can join the Mugiwara crew in the future. In the midst of this happy atmosphere, Caribou apparently heard and couldn't believe he was getting information about the Pluton. He then mentioned the presence of Poseidon on Fishman Island, and intended to convey all this information to someone who was kept secret. Several days passed, and Wano is still in a very calm condition. Momo seems to be increasingly enjoying his status as Shogun of Wano, but when he was about to practice sword fighting with Zoro, Momo was shocked because all the Mugiwara members were missing from the castle. Hiri said that Luffy group had left Wano in the morning, and only Momo and Kimaman didn't have time to say goodbye. The scene moves to Takage Harbor, where Luffy, Lau, and Kit are discussing the route they will take after leaving Wano. From the three directions indicated by log posts, Lau chose the northeast, while Luffy and Kit want to go east. Because they have the same choice, Luffy and Kit take the lottery, and the result is that Kit gets east, while Luffy has to go southeast. Luffy didn't accept that, and said, "I'm a Yonko. Why should I lose the lottery?" Hearing about Yonko, Kid got angry and suddenly showed a poster of Buggy creating a cross-guild alliance with Crocodile and Mihawk. Kid doesn't accept Buggy Yonko's status, because the former Shichibukai member was considered not as strong as other pirates. Luffy also agrees and says that Buggy is stupid, and questions about things that happened in the outside world that caused Buggy to become a Yonko. Lau tries to be realistic by saying that Buggy can convince Crocodile and Mihawk to create an alliance, so that he is worthy of the title of Yonko. Apart from that, there is information that the Cross Guild Alliance also placed bounties on a number of Navy members. So now it's not just pirates who are being targeted, but also the Navy. Finished with that argument, Lau suddenly handed Kid a copy of the road poneglyph in Wano. Killer looked at the copy and said that now, Kid had to start getting serious about hunting for One Piece. At that moment, Kid refers to someone who has fire wounds, while saying that they didn't have much information about the figure. Luffy, who heard it, was interested in the figure, but Kid decided not to tell Luffy, and that made Luffy a little annoyed. One Piece Chapter 1056 closes with a scene at the Flower Capital Castle where Momo and Kinemon try to find Yamato whereabouts. Yamato turns out to be at the top of the castle and has decided to go to where Luffy and the others are. Then he said to be able to sail the sea and live a life like his idol, Kozuki Oden.